In this video, we're gonna create a teapot, and this is more a practice video for reviewing all the things that I already talked about. So for a start, I click on the cube and press delete, and then I want to add my image, so I go to the -y, press add image reference, or press shift A, image reference, and then go to the place of my teapot, select my teapot and load reference image. And now I'm going to change the image, move it up. So I press G for moving and Z to move it up. I can also scale it with S a little, and then GZ for moving up a bit. Now let me go to the perspective view and move my image to the back with using the green axis. Okay, so this is my image. Now I want to select a primary object for my teapot. And if I go to the add mesh, at first glance you may think that a cylinder is really a good primary object for this, and you may not be wrong. But a better primary object for this teapot is UV sphere, because our teapot is close to the sphere. So this UV sphere have a shape of quads, but at the top and bottom, all the edge is gonna converge on one vertex. We also have another sphere called icosphere in Blender. Icosphere, it doesn't matter in what angle you look at it, all the faces are triangle. And we also have another kind of sphere, but for that you need to add an add-on called extra object, and for that you can go to the edit, preference, add-ons, and search extra and activate the add mesh extra object. Okay, and now if I press shift A or add, you can see that my object is gonna be extended. And the object I talked about is round cube, and at first glance it's cube, but if you go to the add round cube and increase the radius, you can see that it becomes a sphere. And this sphere, let me move it left a little, and this sphere is all quad in every angle. So based on what you may need to create, you can select any one of these three spheres. But let me back to the object mode, delete my sphere, and add shift A, mesh, the simple UV sphere. And if you look at the setting of the add UV sphere, the segment is the number of vertical edge. And let me activate the wireframe for you. And if I change the segment, you can see that the number of vertical edge is gonna be increase or decrease. The ring is the number of horizontal edge, and we can see that I can increase or decrease the amount of the horizontal edge, and the radius is the radius of my sphere. And every time you want to start modeling, it's better to decrease the number of edges of your primary object to make it easier for manipulation. So for a start, I'm going to put the rings to 12 and then change the segment to some number, for example 20, and make your number in the way that it always make your faces closer to the square. Okay, so for now this 20 is enough, and then I can go to the -y, activate my wireframe, move my object up, and also increase the radius to make it closer to my teapot. Let me move it up a little more and increase the radius a little more. So it's good for a start for now. Then I click on my object, press tab, or come here and edit it. And now I need to start to make my edge in the shape of my teapot. So I press this edge and use the scale tools to scale my object. But remember, one of the mistakes that my students do is that for scale tools they're using this red axis for scaling the loops. But although from this angle it looks fine, but if you look at the loop from the top, you create an oval, and it's not a really good practice because we want a circle. So let me go to the minus y and Control Z and use this white for scaling my edge. Okay, and then you can also use the shortcut, and with shortcut you don't need to worry for the red or white axis. So use the S for scaling, S for decreasing the radius. For this one I'm gonna increase the radius, and for this one also I'm gonna increase the radius, and then use the G and Z to move the edge up, and also use the S one more time for increasing the scale, and S one more time. And this bottom vertex is need to be deleted, so I'm gonna select it and press delete, and then press vertices. Okay, now we need to fill this bottom hole, and for that first you need to select all the loop in the hole, and then you can't use inset because you don't have any face here to make an edge invert. Instead, it's better to first use the extrude to create an extra edge, and then use the scale tool by pressing S to scale your extrude invert. Okay, and then you can go to the face and use grid fill. But if we look at our grid fill from this angle, this edge that is in the x-axis need to come here and go here. But our grid fill is not this kind of shape, and also this edge is need to come here and go here. So for that to happen, you need to change the setting of your grid fill. So I press delete and faces, and once again I select this loop and go to the face, grid fill, and then change this number. For example, I create a span 6, and you can see that right now is this edge is always gonna follow in this line, and also this edge. And if your shape is, for example, in this direction, you can rotate the grid fill by changing the offset. And if you don't like this curve shape, you can press simple blending to make it simple. Okay, so let me go to the minus y wireframe and select this top edge, scale it, and place it at this location, because we need a face here, so it's better to create the face that we need from this moment. And we also need a face here. Select this edge, move it down with GZ, and scale it with S. Select the edge, GZ for moving down, and S for scale it. We also need another face here, so I'm going to first delete this top vertex by pressing delete and vertices, and then select this loop, go to the minus y, first press E for extruding, press Z for extruding along the Z axis, and then press S for scaling. Once again press E for extruding, and press S for scaling it a little. Okay, now my base shape is created, and for this at the top of the teapot, like the bottom, I'm going to use E and then press S for extruding the edge inward. And then go to the -pi wireframe and once again use E and then press Z to move it in the Z axis and moving it down. And this is the base form of our teapot that is like a vase. In the next video, we're gonna continue on creating this shape and this shape and this shape.